Welcome. Recently, Apostle Chiwenga and Evangelist Marufu held a debate whether believers should observe the Sabbath. Marufu defends it and Chiwenga opposes it, but they're all Christians, they all read the Bible. However, what is missing in this debate that has eluded almost every person that has watched it, specifically in Southern Africa, is the bigger truth. These preachers, though black in skin, are Europeans in spirit. All black pastors, prophets, apostles, and evangelists today continue to propel the legacy of European missionaries. In practice, they are destroying our African identity and perpetuating methods that undermine African spirituality and political structures. It is said that this is the scenario that we find ourselves in today. In this video, we explore how African religious leaders carry forward a colonial agenda consciously. We examine the historical and spiritual connections that ensures that European destruction of African identity continues via the representatives of European colonial and enslaving spirituality, like these two pastors that are shown here. All black pastors serve European missionary agendas that was formulated as a strategic agenda at the Berlin Conference of 1884-85 that established the rules for the conquest and destruction of Africa. Tribes like the Mosi tribes, one of the many tribes perhaps in Africa that stood against it, later collapsed the moment and the minute they incorporated and they ingratiated themselves and integrated themselves with the whites. This is the cause of African collapse, the integration with the whites, especially their spirituality. Why did European missionaries come to Africa? Why did Muslims come to Africa? Why did the Jews come to Africa? All black preachers today never address these questions. The desire of all these missionaries was that the African must abandon his or her religion and culture. And when they do that, they adopt Western or Arabized or Jewish religion and culture, which after they have done that, they can then open up their gateways for colonialism and enslavement. The motive of these missionaries coming to Africa, therefore, was to prepare the Africans mentally and spiritually for the takeover by colonizers. And unfortunately and sadly, this is what is going on today by those that are propelling and teaching the white man is God, the Arabized God, who follow these missionaries like Chiwengas and Makandiwas and many others. African preachers continue to propel this. If the early so-called prophets thought about it seriously and they had the spirit of God or the spirit of Jesus, they would have known the agenda of the evil kings like King Leopold, who established the European missionary agenda that is being propelled today by these sellout preachers and pastors. You can read this book by George Washington William, Open Letter to King Leopold of Congo, to discover this agenda that is being propelled today, that started during pre-colonial Africa period. It was to remove you and me from our mystic system, which they knew was very powerful, and also to stop us from using our war fetish warfare protection system. And this is a letter that you can read that was crafted by King Leopold as he gave the mandate to missionaries that came to preach into Africa. They use various methods. Historians document multiple mechanisms through which European colonialism and missionary activities have penetrated and destroyed African power, the mystic power. They come and tell you that this is evil, but they continue to give you the sacrament. And they continue to teach you not to believe in your own system rituals, and they call that pagan, and they call that evil or Satan or the devil. And then they destroy your centers of power, your shrines, and they introduce their own shrines like churches. Every ministry, so-called mystery of Chakuti is a shrine holding entity, and they give you the idol to worship now, and they've removed yours and they've given theirs. Where do you think the power will come from? This is what all our black pastors are teaching us, to follow these European ways and to think that we are being saved. When the missionaries arrived, the Africans had the land and the missionaries had the Bible. It is still the status quo being promoted by these black pastors. They taught us how to pray with our eyes shut. And when we opened them, they had the land and we had the Bible. Africa was now a colonial entity. They performed another scam in which they had the Bible translated into almost every other African language, but no scientific book translated into a single African language. That is a conspiracy. That is a trap. And that is a scam that is being propelled by these black pastors like Makandiwa, Marufu, Chiwenga, Gino Jennings, and many, many others. At the same time, you have got the same pastors like this Chiwenga guy says Christianity did not enslave Africa. The slave trade happened simultaneously with the arrival of the Christian missionaries and the arrival of Jesus and the Bible in Africa. Christianity is the white man's religion. Christianity is core to slavery and colonization. Without the spirit of Christianity, we would have handled colonization better because we would have used our mystic power. But the papal bull, the doctrine of discovery, established by Pope Nicholas V, established that we should be invaded, searched out, captured, vanquished, and subdued. And then we should be taken into perpetual slavery and to be converted for the use of these kings. And you got this coming and saying, no, Christianity didn't enslave Africans. They used violence and enslavement during the scramble for Africa and the expansion of European control, often involving military force, punitive expeditions, and collaboration with our own sellout kings to justify enslavement, to teach us that as slaves, we must obey our earthly masters, which were Europeans, with deep respect and fear, to serve them sincerely as we would serve Christ. And then this Chiwenga guy says Christianity didn't enslave Africa. Continue to teach from the Bible that slaves should obey their earthly masters in everything. All right? If your earthly master comes and wants to have sex with you, you must obey. Shouldn't refuse. He said, don't just do it to please them when they are watching, but obey them with an honest heart. Do it out of respect for the Lord. So the Lord is the one who has sent them to enslave us. And you've got this guy, so-called Chiwenga, saying Christianity didn't enslave Africans. It is said because African preachers continue European missionary agenda. The ghost of the missionary still walks in many African minds, pulpits, homes, churches, industries, banks, finance, and many, many others where they tithe and give God money. They say this book, the Bible, is the truth because the people who enslaved us said so. We've got now these people like Chiwenga who are very, very, very confused. They've got multiple personality positions. Now he claims that he's not a Christian. He has a ministry that proclaims Jesus as Lord. He treats the Bible as divine, as revelation, as inspired by God, as the key to salvation, and convinces believers, convinces them to worship, teaches them, and gives them spiritual information from the Bible. He memorizes verses and verses and verses and regurgitates and repeats catechism, Roman Catholic catechism. To then come and say he's not a Christian is just being clever by half. He invokes Jesus while rejecting the faith presented and preserved in the Bible by the Catholics for him. So this is the confusion that is there. When you also look at the Seventh-day Adventist, the other guy whom he was debating against, Marufu, he preaches in a church that was founded by a woman. But if you read 1 Timothy 2 verse 11 to 12, it says a woman should learn in quietness and a full submission. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. And Ellen G. White was never quiet at all. European theology is confusion. When missionaries translated the Bible into African languages, they created the theology and culture of deception that is still perpetuated today by the likes of Chiwenga who are confused and do not know the concept of the divine, because they are propelling the monotheistic God of European Christianity. Our oral tradition, our oral prophets and rituals and speech and words and mantras and prayers are central to the knowledge systems that we have, which are spiritual, unwritten, and which are primary to every other religion you can think of on earth. When he speaks about Jehovah is not God, he's showing confusion, because Jehovah, OYHVW, HOYHWH, is God of Israel. Tetragrammaton, the name is Jehovah or Yahweh. It is not a debate that anyone who is sensible can engage in, because archaeology has shown that this El, this God El, Elohim, is the same God now incorporated in the Bible. The fourth word in the beginning, God created the heaven. The word God there is El. It's the Elohim, plural, gods, plural. So this God was actually married to Asherah, Yahweh. Comes from the Proto-Indo-European Gat, went to Proto-Germanic Guthan, and it became Old English God, supreme being, a deity, the Christian God. So the Europeans that taught you that are the ones that are writing this to you. So either you come to African tradition where you speak of Mdimo, where you speak of Nyame, where you speak of Chuku, where we teach that the real creator is a noble, is nameless, is not a spirit, is not a being, does not talk to anybody, is not inspired even one person on earth. You can't understand that, I know. So these are Christian black missionaries who continue to propel the Jesus, the name of the slave ship that was captained by Sir John Hawkins in 1564, appointed by the Queen of England, and later on the papas had a hand over it. So you cannot today come and tell us that Christianity didn't enslave black people, because the Roman Pontifex Papal Bull of Pope Nicholas V allowed Portugal and many other European kings and gave them the right to enslave any and all people they encounter south of Cape Bojador on the coast of Western Sahara. When you read this document, the Papal Bull, about midway, you find that Pope declares all sub-Saharan Africans as people to be held in perpetual slavery, and he is the slave master, Chiwenga, who is now trying to sanitize what his church and religion has done to us. In this video, we have demonstrated beyond any doubt that all black pastors serve European missionary agendas. They may appear African, they may appear melanin dominant, they may be Bantus when you look at them, black, and they may speak indigenous languages, sing indigenous songs, carry African names, surnames, totems, but in truth, they are Europeans, as white as snow in their brains. The spirit that operates them is a European spirit. They've killed and murdered the African spirit which was in them. They've removed the African mystic system and they put Christ. They've removed their war fetish protection system and bought guns and military technology and the spirits and aliens and entities from Europe, which work in their churches to blind their followers, to fill their followers' mouth with tongues they speak, and they think they are speaking some language, yet they are speaking with the language of European devils, European evil spirits. We have examined the truth that they are propelling a European colonial agenda consciously. We have also shown historical and spiritual connections that sustain their power to influence the African faith, to destroy African spirituality. That's what they are doing. They are perpetuating the missionary agenda given to them by their kings, especially King Leopold. It is said that black pastors, all of them, serve European missionary agendas. What are you serving yourself? Have you made the smart choice to liberate your soul, to follow your mystic system and abandon European spirit. The choice is yours. It is up to you. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting, and sharing this video. Kenda Siyabonga. We are ready to welcome you to study with us. Bantu Melanin University. We have got literature, we've got books, we've got information that we need to share with you. All you need to do is to send us an email on Bantu Melanin University, admissions@proton.me, or visit our website and go at the bottom. You will find literature that is worth your money, worth your time, and worth your studies. Let us study this inherent Afro mystic salvation system. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our power. That's our Bantu identity, which will liberate us forever. I'm your manager to Pipiti Rabbi LM Kunikeni Mjaganja, saying all these black pastors, all of them, without exception, all of them are serving European missionary agendas. Amen. Run away from them. Amen.